Mishnah, the end of the Mishnah, in Temurah, it says, "Kolonik barim lo yisrafu." So it says that there's two types of ways to actually get rid of something that cannot be used any longer. So either that you cannot have anah from or can't have any benefit from. So there are items that have to either be buried, and there's other items that either have to be burnt. So the Mishnah says, "Kolonik barim," and then it says that even those that have to be buried, if you wanted to go ahead and burn it, the Mishnah says you shouldn't. So the Mishnah says, "Kolonik barim lo yisrafu." You shouldn't even burn them. My tama, what's the reason why you shouldn't go ahead and burn an item that has to be buried? Mishum denikbarim efran asor. They're not the efer, the ashes or the earth that it turns into. It's asor ba'anah. You're not allowed to have hana from an item that was buried that you shouldn't use. So that's the reason. V'nisrafim efran musar. But items that have to be burnt, those items, once they've been burnt, you're allowed to go and take the ashes and use them. And since we're worried that if a person's going to take the item that's buried and burn it, you may come to have hana from it because you think that items that can be burnt, you can have hana. That's what we say, those items that have to be buried cannot be burnt. So the Gemara says, "V'nikvarim efran asur," and those items that have to be buried, their ashes are prohibited. V'atanya, we've learned. Dam hanido, basar amez, the blood of nido and the flesh of the dead, shenifrachu, that now have been converted in the earth, tahirim. They're not metama anymore. My love, from here we would deduct and say, tahirim umutarim. Not only are they tahar, but actually mutarim ba'ana. You can take that earth now and use it for whatever reason. You can have ana from it. And so that would be a contradiction to our Mishnah that says, kolonik barim lo nisrafim, you cannot burn them because we're worried that they may come to have ana. So the Gemara says, no. Lo taharim, lo. Taharim vasurim. No, in fact, that actually while they are tahar, but they still are asur bana. So Meisiv Rav Pinchas asks, he says, Oila sa'oif, the oil that comes from the fowl, shenis mitzadama, that all its blood has been already taken out on the mizbeach. Moirasa v'naitza shela, it's a sack at the bottom of the neck, as I was shown, and its feathers, they are actually permitted. Yatsu midei meila. Once all the blood has been taken out, they have now been removed from the aspect of being moel, to have meila on it. My love, the Gemara says, Yatsu midei meila, that now since you cannot transgress having a meila on it, therefore theoretically maybe it's mutarim, then you can have mutar ba'ana. So the Gemara says, look, Yatsu midei meila, that while you're not going to transgress meila on the maraisa and the naitza, nonetheless, vasurim, you cannot have hana from it. So now the Gemara asks the opposite. V'nisrafim the hekdesh, we said that all the items that have to be burned, technically you can have hana from it. So the Gemara asks, v'nisrafim the hekdesh, and items from hekdesh that not be used, that had to be burnt. Efron musar, you're telling me that all their ashes can be permitted. V'atanya, and we learned, kol hanisrafim, all the items that have to be burnt. Efram mutar, all their ashes are permitted. Chutz me'efer ashera ve'efer hekdesh lo'olam asur. Now, the Gemara does here something interesting, which before they answer its question, the Gemara actually tells you, don't mistake a statement that I just made here. So they said that all the ashes that can be burnt, and their efer is mutar, excluding the ashes of an ashera, that's the tree that was worshipped, that was used as for avodah zarah, and efer of hekdesh, and the ashes of a hekdesh. L'olam asur, you're never allowed to have hana from it. And the Gemara says, Umiravhu de lo karivlu, and the reason why he did not include and just say simply chutz me'efer ashera and hekdesh, why did he have to say chutz, excluding efer of ashera, and efer hekdesh lo'olam asur? Why does he say specifically on hekdesh lo'olam asur? Why he did not include them in the same thing, that they are both asur? So the Gemara says, "V'tanilu mishum da ashera yesh la betela ba'ovet kachavim." Ashera, that's a tree that was worshipped by avodas kachavim. While the ashes of such a tree one cannot have hana, but there is a way to redeem an ashera that it can be permitted. That if an ovet kachavim turns around and says, this tree which I thought, or not thought, which I used to serve and worship for avodas kachavim, if he turns around and says, no, I'm removing my spell or my indication or my inclination to serve this as avodah zarah, and Oived Kachavim can remove that aspect of the tree of being an Asherah. And then, if that tree now was burnt, you can use its ashes and have hana from it. However, hekdesh en lo betela olamis. Once hekdesh it's been designated for hekdesh, and now it's being burnt, the ashes can never have any benefit forever. From all of this, now the Gemara is asking this question. Mehas, from here, nonetheless, we see Efer hekdesh lo olam asur. The ashes of hekdesh are forever prohibited, which is now a question on our Mishnah, because the reason why we said that you're not allowed to go ahead and take the items that had to be buried, and you cannot burn them, because we're worried that if a person's going to burn an item that had to be buried, you may have hana from it. But here we already have another item, which is hekdesh, that if you burn it, you cannot have hana, so we won't be worried that a person will make such a mistake, because he'll know that certain items of sreifa can have hana and some you can't. So if it has to be buried and instead you burnt it, he'll also know that he shouldn't have hana from it. So Amar Rami Bar Chama, he said, so there's two answers that are given. I'll say the first one, then say a little vort, and then we'll finish the last. So the one answer, he says that the reason why the efer of hekdesh is not batal and you can never have any hana from it, he says the nafla deleka but about hekdesh. So it wasn't actually burnt for the purpose of burning it, but rather there was an accident, and a fire came onto the wood of hekdesh by itself. And the issue is kevan de loyadi man. We don't know who did it. The law have an delimol, and so since the only way hekdesh can be yoytze lechulin is if someone had me'ilah, if someone used it for an other purpose other than what it was designated for, and then it can go into chulin, and that's why if it now be chulin, you shouldn't have hana from it. But in this case, because we don't know who did it, and you cannot call the person that burnt it, and therefore that person would have done the me'ilah, and because of that person with yoytze lechulin, so in this case we're going to turn around and say, because we don't know who it is, it's going to have to be set aside, and no one can ever have hana from it. The leifuk eifran lechulim. No, we don't know who's the one who actually benefits to be yoytze lechulim. Rav Shmaya gives another one, and I'll say that in a second. So I just want to share one little vort before we break this all up. And I read the sicha that you designated over there, which is actually a very long sicha and all, talking about the difference between items that are buried and ultimately items that are burnt. Both of them we're getting rid of them. However, the ones that are in the ground, we can't have enough from it afterwards, and while the ones that are burnt, technically we can. And it goes into a whole thing, is that it brings, I will scare away the chayara from the land. And it says there that it was identifying what's a greater miracle, when there will be no more bad animals in the land of Eretz Yisrael to harm us, or, on the contrary, that there will be bad animals, but they won't harm us anymore. So the question is, what level are we trying to get rid of both physical issues in our world and ultimately spiritual issues in the world? And so the Rebbe seems to conclude and say that really the greatest miracle is not getting rid of the evil, Yetzer Hara, the Satan, that it's not there anymore, and then we just have a good life without any obstacles. But on the contrary, when the obstacles are actually right there in front of us, and you can go and pet a snake, and it's not going to bite you, that's the greatest miracle. But I'd like to just add one more last little thing, because coming into starting the Daf Yomi, and the whole concept of Temurah, and if you remember right at the beginning, I was asking you, says the whole thing to me just simply made no sense. You're telling me you can't do it, but if you did it, it actually did become holy. Okay, you get malchus nonetheless. But it actually, an object that you weren't supposed to do had the ability to turn and holy into us. And what's very interesting, when it talks about at the end of Chumash Vayikra, and the end of Bechukosai, and it says there about the halachas of Temurah, it says, V'lo yigael, you cannot be redeemed. Zeh v'zeh, they're both going to be considered holy. And it says, Dibra Torah keneged Yetzer Hara. The Torah is talking against the Yetzer Hara of a person. Because what's the whole story of Temurah? What's the core problem here? Is that when we all designate something to do, something in holiness, whether it's tzedakah, whether it's a good, and after we made that indication, we've identified we're going to do it, then we have second thoughts. We say, "Oi, I'm giving too much. I'm giving the best one. I'm a small yid. I don't have that much money. If I'm going to give my fattest and my juiciest animal to the Beis Hamikdash, just mice or whatever, so now I'm going to have a loss." So it says here that this is where the challenge of having faith in Hashem boils down to. And in fact, in the Haftarah of Parshas Bechukosai, the famous pasuk, it says, Baruch HaGever Asher Yiftach B'Hashem, Vaya Hashem Yiftachai. it's in the Haftarah B'Chukosa, what's it talking about? Worthy is that person who has faith in Hashem, that if your machshava was to do something good, have faith that your inclination of doing the right thing actually has the koyach to do exactly what Hashem wanted. So really, I think what this whole concept of Temurah is to really give every single one of us a big chizuk, that it's not only our calculations of what's right and wrong and what's going to be left, but in fact taking the afer, and when it's going to be burnt, once it's done, you can actually have hana from it. You can actually have pleasure from the aspect of doing the mitzvah that you're doing. So I'd like to give everyone a bracha, that every challenge that we have in this world, and sometimes we think we know what's right, sometimes we're not sure what's right, but nonetheless, Hashem knows what's right. We have to have bitachon in Hashem. There are famous stories from the Baal Shem Tov, who he brought his talmidim constantly to go and see how, how simple Yidden, it wasn't necessarily the greatest of them all, but the simplest of them all, was able to have incredible bitachon despite the most awkward situations. And may that be a schus to all of us, to have bitachon in Hashem, and we should have Emir Hashem a good life until Kamei Mashiach Tzidkenu. Rab Shmaya says, Amar Kitana Hamas Nisa. Why can we turn around and say that when it's, in this case, that it's, when he's saying that it's burnt and it can never be used forever, it's talking about Trumas addition. So this was not something that was burnt after the Maisa, but rather this was actually the burnt offerings. The ashes were anyway taken and scattered around. And those ashes that were not burnt for the purpose of burning, but they were just the remaining of the items that were on the mizbeach. They are la'olam osur. The Tanya, it says there in the pasuk, v'samo etzel mizbeach, and the Gemara says benachas. It has to be done in a kind way. Even scattering the ashes had to be done in a kind, in a caring way. V'samu kuloi, and it's not just taking some of it, but rather you have to take all of it. And therefore the Gemara deducts v'samoy shloi fazer. You cannot go and just scatter it, and therefore one should not have hano on it. Hadron alach yesh bekoche mizbeach salika l'ha Masechta Temurah. Hadron alach yesh bekoche mizbeach salika Masechta Temurah. Hadron alach bekoche mizbeach salika Masechta Temurah. Do I stand for this part? Or just for the Kaddish?
You stand for the Kaddish.
Hadron alach Masechta Temurah v'ana alach datech alach Masechta Temurah v'datech alach lo nishech minech Masechta Temurah v'lo sisnase minan la ba'alma hadein v'lo ba'alma da'aseh. Hadron alach Masechta Truma v'hadron alach datan alach Masechta Truma v'datech halan lo nisnase minech Masechta Temurah v'lo nisnase minech minan lo ba'alma hadein v'lo ba'alma da'aseh. Hadron alach Masechta Truma v'hadron alan datan alach Masechta Temurah v'datan alach lo sisnase minach Masechta Temurah v'lo sisnase minan lo ba'alma hadein v'lo ba'alma da'aseh. Yotzma l'fanecha den aleinu v'lavoseinu shteter aschoi emunaseinu b'olam hazeh u'seheh imanu l'olam haba Chanina bar Papa, Rami bar Papa, Nachman bar Papa, Achai bar Papa, Abba, Merid bar Papa, Afram bar Papa, Rachish bar Papa, Surcha bar Papa, Ada bar Papa, Daru bar Papa, Havna den aleinu z'vei Yisrael b'finu v'fiyas amcha beis Yisrael v'nei kulanu anachnu v'tzetzeinu v'tzei amcha beis Yisrael k'anu yudei shmech v'lom dei Yisrael mo'oi v'aisitach sechachmeini mitzvasech ki l'olam hi li. Yehi libi samim b'chukecha leman lo yevosh lo'olam lo yishkach b'kudecha kivam b'chisani baruch atah Adonai lamdeni b'chukecha. Amen, amen, amen. Selavoyed. Modim anachnu lach lefanecha adin aleinu v'lavoseinu shesamtech alkeinu v'yoshvei beis hamidrash lo samtech alkeinu v'yoshvei kranos she'anu mashkim v'hem mashkim anu mashkim l'dvei soira v'hem mashkim l'dvarim betelim anu amelim v'hem amelim anu amelim mekablim schar v'hem amelim v'enam mekablim schar anu amelim v'hem ratzim v'anu ratzim l'chaylam haba v'hem ratzim l'ver shachas shneim v'vatah Elohim toridim l'ver shachas anshe domim mirma lo yichzu yemeim v'ani aftach bach yotzma l'fanecha adin Elohai kashem shazartan l'sem Masechta Temurah. Kent azayil aschem masechtos usvarim achayim usamim limod ulam lishmor lasos ulukemes kol devei salmut rasech be'avos chuz kol atanoim v'amorim v'salmidei chachamim yamod liu lazar shlo samush hatar mipi zari v'zer zari ad oilam v'ziskan bik b'ilchasechot tanche oisao b'shach v'chal tishmor alecha v'kitzoisa hi tzesichecha ki v'yir bu yamecha v'yosiv l'chashna sichayim orech min b'vina v'smono oisha v'kovod ozlamo yiten v'chasamo v'shalom.
Can I borrow your hat?
You have a
hat? No,
no,
I don't even have a jacket. Do I have a hat?
No, sitter.
Sit there. I'll pack.
No, I don't know the
Trust me, you probably know it.